Good morning, students. Last time we have studied the anatomy of the optic nerve. Today we will discuss the next part of the optic nerve, that is physiology of the optic nerve and clinical features of the patients who are suffering from the optic nerve disorders. Uh, in short, symptomatology of the optic nerve diseases, and also we will like to study the investigations required in case of optic nerve diseases. Let us see normal physiology. In optic nerve, the neuron soma is the ganglion cell body in the retina. Axons are all located within the optic nerve. So optic nerve is nothing but the axons of the ganglion cell layer. So ganglion cells uh, is the soma, neuron soma, and axons of that constitute the optic. Optic nerve is nothing but a fiber optic cable which transmits the axons of the ganglion cells. Initially unmyelinated of the retinal ganglion cells traverse the retina in the retinal nerve fiber layer. So as long as the ganglion cell axons lie in the retinal nerve fiber layer, they are unmyelinated. They are not covered by the myelin sheath. They exit the eye through the optic nerve head. Myelin sheath acquired outside the globe then travel as the optic nerve. Once they enter the optic nerve and travel via the optic nerve, they get myelinated. They acquire the myelin sheaths. Then they partially decussate and pass as the optic chiasma, later as the optic tract to terminate in the lateral geniculate body. So from the optic nerve, they go to the optic decussate and pass as the optic chiasma, and later on they travel as optic tract to terminate in the lateral geniculate body. From there, optic radiation and then to the occipital cortex where the vision center lies. Now, what is the acquired knowledge here? Myelination can get demyelinated in demyelinating diseases like optic neuritis. That is one in the optic nerve that we'll see in future. Now, how is the arrangement of nerve fibers in the retina? In the retina, nerve fibers from the macula run toward the temporal portion of the optic disc as the papillomacular bundle. This is extremely important knowledge. Fibers from the temporal part of the retina arch above and below the macular fibers, the papillomacular bundle, to reach the superotemporal and inferotemporal portions of the optic nerve as the superior and inferior arcuate fibers. Nasal fibers from the superior and inferior nasal retina reach the nasal optic nerve as the superior and inferior radiating fibers. These arrangement of the nerve fibers is very important to know the field effects of optic nerve diseases as well as glaucoma, because in glaucoma also same fibers are involved. So this is this diagram showing papillomacular bundle and also the fibers coming from superotemporal and inferotemporal, superior nasal, inferior nasal parts of the retina. Arrangement of the nerve fibers in the optic nerve, arrangement of the nasal fibers in the optic nerve head is exactly same as in the retina. Upper and lower temporal fibers are situated on the temporal half of the optic nerve. They are separated from each other by a V-shaped area occupied by the papillomacular bundle. You have to remember that optic nerve differs from other cranial nerves. Optic nerve, because of its constituent parts, mimics the white matter of the brain as good as it is continuation of the brain. That is why in neurological diseases optic nerve involvement is suspected or seen, or optic nerve diseases themselves can have CNS manifestations sometimes. Now there is a transport of exoplasmic flow going across the optic nerve all the time. Now, how this exoplasmic transported flow works? It has two components. One is orthograde exoplasmic transport, that is from eye to the brain. Now, through this exoplasmic transport, visual impulses travel. Now, this orthogrid, that is one which goes from eye to brain, has slow component, proteins and enzymes at 0.5 to 3 mm per day, intermediate component, mainly mitochondria, rapid component, subcellular organelles at 200 to 1000 millimeters per day. Now there is one more component is retrograde exoplasmic, which travels reverse way from brain to the eye, which is transport of lysozymes and mitochondria, which occurs at the intermediate rate. So this and knowledge of exoplasmic transport is extremely important when you will study papilledema. In papilledema, there is exoplasmic stasis. To understand exoplasmic stasis, you should know the exoplasmic transport which goes from eye to brain and from brain to eye. Now, what is the different etiopathogenesis of optic nerve diseases? So, this etiopathogenesis will tell you what in future series lectures we are going to learn. First problem with optic nerve disease is swelling or edema or accumulation of excess fluid in and around the nerve. This swelling or edema is known as optic disc edema or papilledema that we will see in the chapter of papilledema. Then there can be ischemia. The optic nerve is supplied by blood supply. If blood supply is affected, then there will be ischemia, which is known as anterior ischemic optic neuropathy and posterior ischemic optic neuropathy. There can be inflammation within and around the nerve. This is known as papillitis or optic neuritis. Then there can be degeneration or atrophy of the axons by direct compression or toxic effects. That will be the optic atrophy primary or toxic optic neuropathy. Then there can be indirect injury by penetrating trauma or indirect by concussional and rotational forces, which is known as optic nerve avulsion. Or there can be abnormal embryogenesis in utero leading to congenital, like congenital optic disc coloboma is the example. So these 6 points you have to remember, which will tell you the pathological conditions of the optic disc. Out of that, what we are going to cover in the undergraduate syllabus is papilledema, papillitis or optic neuritis, and optic atrophy in subsequent lectures. So, what different clinical features patients present with those who are having optic nerve diseases? There will be reduced visual acuity for distance and near, that's common, but it may be non-specific. Sometimes early optic nerve diseases, the visual acuity is preserved. For example, early papilledema visual would be normal, but papillitis gross reduction of visual acuity. So visual acuity part may vary. Then these patients are present with relative apparent pupillary defect, that is RAPD. So you must learn RAPD in detail. RAPD is tested by swinging flashlight test. So this pupillary abnormality is a hallmark or pathognomic of optic nerve diseases. Then another important clinical feature of optic nerve disease is dyschromatopsia or impairment of color vision. Optic nerve diseases mainly affects red and green component of the color vision. So patients with optic nerve diseases in early period also present with red and green color vision defects, whereas retinal lesions they present with blue yellow type of color defect. Again, there will be diminished light brightness sensitivity, which persists even after acuity returns to normal, which is known as brightness sensitivity affected by the optic neuritis. Diminished contrast sensitivity. Contrast sensitivity is again important parameter of the vision. So optic nerve diseases present with diminished contrast sensitivity. They present with diminished stereo acuity and they present with very specific field defects. These field defects may have diffuse depression as their pattern, or there may be central scotoma, centrocecal, that is center plus involvement of optic blind spot, that is centrocecal, or they can be nerve fiber bundle defects, or they can be altitudinal field defects. These defects you will understand if you know the arrangement of the papillomacular fibers normal. So depending upon the affection of those part of that, the patients will present with these different types of scotomas. Now optic nerve diseases may mimic other diseases, retinal diseases, but before that optic nerve diseases can be have a differential diagnosis based on the fields. Central centrocecal defects involving papillomacular bundle, unilaterally optic neuritis, compressive lesions, bilaterally nutritional amblyopia, tobacco neuropathy, drug-induced, toxin-induced, hereditary, infiltration, bilateral compressive lesions like pituitary adenoma. Nerve fiber bundle defects, main differential diagnosis glaucoma or optic nerve drusen or ischemic optic neuropathy or branch artery occlusion or other cases of optic neuritis or chronic papilledema. Ophthalmic scopic appearance of the disc has some differential diagnostic features. Normal will be in retrovalvular neuritis, compressive lesion, retrovalvular infiltration like granulomatous, lymphomatous, carcinomatous, or bilateral involvement with normal optic disc, tobacco or alcohol amblyopia, nutritional amblyopia of drugs like ethambutol or toxins, or Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. Or depending on the appearance, swollen or edematous disc will have its own differential diagnosis, hyperemetic disc will have its own differential diagnosis, or pale optic disc will have its own differential diagnosis, which we will see on those respective conditions will be discussed. So this is the differential diagnosis of swollen disc or disc edema, unilateral and bilateral. This will be see again we'll see in the papilledema topic. Atrophic disc, again video of that we will see in the optic atrophy lesion in detail. Now if you have a case of optic nerve defects, what investigations were likely to know, were likely patient should undergo? Now suppose there is an intracranial space occupied, you will go for CT, which will have a manifestation in the optic nerve. So CT or brain. Similarly, vascular lesions, magnetic MRI imagings or MRI angiography. Sometimes diseases like multiple sclerosis with meningitis have eye manifestation, brain manifestation. They may require CSF analysis, CBC. Most important is VEP. VEP is a electrophysiological investigation, visual evoked potential, which is pathognomic of optic nerve disease. So my postgrad students will study VEP in detail, how the normal VEP looks like, and what are the features of abnormal VEP which are seen in optic nerve diseases. Then OCT optic disc is mainly done in glaucoma, but that can be done. Then contrast testing and brightness testing, field defects which are detected by Goldman perimetry or Humphrey automatic threshold perimetry, 32 for central field or neurological, both can be done. So these investigations you should know which are required in case of optic nerve diseases. Now macular lesions may mimic optic nerve lesions. How to differentiate? These are the characteristics. The reduced visual acuity may be feature of both. Metamorphopsia, that is distorted objects which are seen mainly in macular lesion as compared to optic nerve. Photostress test. Read details about photostress test. If you are bombarded with a load of light, how much time you require to recover from that stress of the light is photostress test, which is a uh, which is a characteristic. Defective photostress is a characteristic of macular lesions as compared to the optic nerve. Central scotoma is in both. Color vision is moderately affected in macular lesion, severely affected in optic nerve. Pain is a characteristic of optic nerve lesion, is not a characteristic of macular lesion. RAPD type of field defect is a pathognomic of optic nerve lesion. It is not seen with the macular lesion. So from these points, you should be able to differentiate whether macula of the patient is involved or it is the optic nerve that is involved.